can't dance. I got a table in front of me.
Kyle P Frankland and John Farian in the house for an impromptu off the top of our head. Like, Kyle sends me a message tonight and he goes like, "Hey John, is there a show tonight?" And I'm like, "There's not one scheduled, but that doesn't mean we can't do one." And Kyle, get this. Literally, this is the shirt I wore today. It's so old school. I haven't worn this shirt because I renamed. This is John Farian Live, right? Like, I renamed the show LiveLARGE Universe. And I thought, I'm working in the garage today. I'm working in the yard. I'm just going to wear the old school shirt. And turns out it's an omen because Kyle P Frankland says, "Let's do a show tonight. Let's just get on there and talk. We don't know what we're going to talk about." So, Kyle, what are you not going to talk about tonight? Or what are we not going to talk about tonight? Or what are we going to talk about tonight? I don't know. What's on your mind? Let's just start talking. Let's see what happens.
I was wearing that same sweatshirt today.
Were you?
For about 10 minutes, and I was like, I don't want to screw this up, so I took it off.
So what do you got going on there? You got Home of the Free, Home of the Brave. Got a little patriotic. So
76.
Yeah. So guys, like, legit, like, I'm literally just sitting at my, in the living room watching TV, and I'm messaging back and forth with Kyle P Frankland because, there's a bunch of stuff, Kyle, that, we can talk about. Is, I know we're planning, Nina, Edith, yourself, myself, your board. We've got Scott Sparrow involved, Mark Jacoby, Todd Wold, like, folks on our side. We're trying to coordinate something that I'd like to think that I invented. And I'm gonna ask the people in the chat, if I didn't invent this, tell me who did. Because what I've coined the term of is the Snowmobile Exchange Program, Snowmobile Club Exchange Program. And what it means is that, like, there's Todd Swing, not Todd Wold, but Todd Swing from Minnesota's watching. You know him, don't you? You met him. Yep, cool. Yep. So we got Ian McNichol watching. We got Katie Fish watching. Todd Swing is watching. We got a few people rolling in here. They're just like us, sitting around watching TV, bored tonight. What the heck? Why not? But the Snowmobile Club Exchange Program was just a brainstorm that, as I'm planning out my season, I'm like, could we have a snowmobile club from Washington go somewhere else, and or have that other club come here, and can we, like, reciprocate some benefits to each other and, like, do some, show each other around our home areas, help coordinate maybe some lodging potentially, and all those kind of things. So what's on the down low on your side? You and Nina have been scheming up some things. What do you got planned for us down in Tahoe when we come down?
We're going to take you out to Little Truckee Summit.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll go up to Mount Watson, which has a beautiful view of Lake Tahoe. They're both really cool areas, but Little Truckee Summit has, honestly, you can ride 25 miles back and then fan out from there. And you can ride, it takes 20 minutes from here to get there, to get to the trailhead. And then you'd ride 20 miles back, and you're basically parallel to our house.
Okay.
And only it might be 7 miles as the crow flies, through the woods, through like 3 different mountain sections of the Sierra Mountains.
Okay.
And so we're going to take you to an expanse. It's huge. Like, you could ride it for a month straight, and there's no possible way you can see 20% of it.
Yep.
It's a big riding area.
That's awesome. So Mr. Ryan Cook from Wyoming is here watching now too.
Yep.
And Ryan, you just got here, so you haven't heard what we're doing. But I was literally just watching TV tonight, killing some time. I put out the post. Some of you guys saw. I put out the post for a show that's coming up a week from now, and that's going to be a really cool episode. We've got Owen and Michelle.
I like Owen.
Yep. So I heard that Owen got to ride your turbo sled. Was it a few years back, wasn't it?
Yeah, a few years back in Alpine. Owen was sitting there, and he kept staring at my sled. I said, "You want to ride it?" I think he was 15 or 16.
I think he was 14. I saw an email from Michelle 14. That told me he was 14 at the time. Yeah.
He was really a young kid, but he was a real good, solid rider
Yeah.
for being that age. And I said, you can ride it. He goes, no, no, I can't. He goes, my dad would never let me ride it. I said, I'm not your dad. I said, get on my turbo and take it for a spin. And first thing he did, he ripped it into trying to do a U-turn and put it on its side, and then just powered out of it. Came out in a wheelie and came straight at his mom, and
Very
it
nice.
was pretty fun. Then he took it for a spin around the place and came back. I think if he took it now, being who he is, he
Yep.
would ride it a little bit longer.
Very good, very good. So yeah,
But
tonight's
yeah, it
episode
was
is literally just shooting the breeze, and so Kyle and I are here. We're messaging back and forth each other about a program that I came up with the concept and the name of, which is called the Snowmobile Exchange Program, right? And so the Washington Snowmobile Club, the Cascade Drift Skippers, that myself and Edith are members of, we've been coordinating with the Lake Tahoe Snowmobilers Snowmobile Club, which both Kyle and Nina are members of, and we've been working with a number of different folks, including Todd Wold, Scott Sparrow, Mark down there, and we're in the process of setting up some house rentals. I think Mark's got a couple of places we're going to rent. Kyle and Nina's got a place. You got another neighbor down the road. I
yeah.
think I think I'm counting. I'm already at like 12 people, and we don't even have this like confirmed yet. Like, and so I'm guessing we're gonna have at least 15 people or more come down, and so there's a good chance we could end up with 20 people coming down because the idea of people from Washington going south to go snowmobiling is one of these foreign concepts that a lot of people haven't explored before, and I've had the honor of doing it a couple of times before. But so that's what we're on here talking about tonight. We got Jay Bird is on from All American Heroes. We've got Kevin Gunderson looking forward to learning more. But yeah, I mean, I guess part of, again, this is very impromptu. What are we going to talk about? But the Snowmobile Exchange Program, it's one of those things where I think it's a cool idea because if you really think about it, we can exchange kind of resources, right? Like we all know our own riding areas, right, Kyle? So you'll show me around your
Yeah.
riding area. And you guys are going to come up to Washington over New Year's weekend, right? Is that still the case? You guys still plan on
Yeah,
coming up?
I think it's New Year's.
Yep. And so you guys, I don't think it's as big of a crew coming up, but you guys are going to have some folks come up, and we're giving you some info, which hopefully you guys have had a chance to review a little bit of, some, I don't know that we have a lot of folks that have like cabin rentals available directly, but we can kind of recommend areas and get you guys, point in the right direction. And then, of course, when we're out here riding, we'll all ride together as a club and show you guys around our stomping grounds. And we're excited to show you that. So,
Yeah, definitely. Well, and we'll put some more word out now that it's a little more confirmed and we're getting closer. We're just getting our first snow tonight. It just started pretty much. It's not really snowing at my elevation right now, but we'll be getting it. I'll be going out at 4 in the mornings doing snow removal.
wow. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. So it seems like a great idea in my opinion, because like what I do, I join clubs. I'm a member
Hmm.
of Cook City. I belong to the Boise Snowmobile Club. I belong
Nice.
to the Utah State. I belong to a bunch of different clubs. And at some point, I plan on visiting all those clubs, and I'm expecting some club member or friend from one of those clubs to take me for a spin rather than paying for a guide if
Yeah.
there's a guide available,
Yeah, it's awesome,
you
and I
know.
think by doing it through clubs, I mean, here's the thing: is like if you're gonna just go ride an area, like I would always recommend hiring a guide, know the local area. You
Yeah.
make sure you're taking care of safe. But a good alternate to that, if you have the connections in the network, is club members. And I know from personal interactions with Kyle, Nina, and other folks, including Scott Sparrow, like I've ridden with these folks at different events, and so I know confidently that your guys' club, just like our club, is very safety focused, right? And so I'm
Yeah.
expecting when we're down there and when you guys are up here, we're going to be doing our avalanche, beacon checks. We're going to be checking the avalanche
Yeah.
forecast, having a discussion in the morning, and setting ourselves up for an amazing, fun day, but a safe day as well to make sure that everybody gets home safely at the end of the day. So,
A
um,
100%.
yep,
100%.
yep,
Before we leave the parking lot, radio checks,
yep,
plan of attack, and we'll have watched the avalanche forecast. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about the plan for the day.
yep.
We will make meeting spots and stopping points and
Yep.
checking on the group and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
So if you guys, any of you who are here watching tonight and or watching this in the next few days are Snowmobile Club members, think about that for a minute. Is don't be afraid to reach out to a snowmobile club and a destination that you'd like to go ride to, and or if anybody, I'll just throw it out there, if anybody from other states or any other areas around the country want to come up and see what snowmobiling in Washington is all about, feel free to reach out to me. I'd happy to kind of entertain that discussion, and whether we get it on the books for this season or next season, I think our club is going to continue to do this into the future. So we've actually got 2 rides planned. You guys are the first one, and we're doing it over Martin Luther King weekend, which is January 13th. We're driving down, riding the 14th, 15th, and then we'll be heading back home on the 16th, Monday, Martin Luther King Day. And then again, you guys are coming up here. I don't know the exact dates, but you guys will be for sure riding.
I think it's New Year's Eve,
Yeah,
basically.
New Year's Eve
We're
day.
coming
So
up,
December
right?
31st is the day of the ride, but I think you guys are coming up a day or two before that. And so
Yeah,
I'll be available to ride, if you guys come up a few days before that or you want to ride a day or two after that, we'll be available to ride. So that'll
I
be
think
fun.
it's going to be pending snow on my account
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm training a new plow operator. So if he can handle the ropes by that time, that's my whole gig. I'm going to pick up probably on my way up. I'll be picking up my new Turbo Lynx
Very cool.
on the way up in Medford, Oregon,
Very
at
cool.
Waterworld Power
And,
Sports.
and speaking of Medford, Oregon, that's actually the next thing I was going to talk about is our mutual friend, Suzanne Anderson. You remember Suzanne
Yep,
Anderson from the
yep,
Driven events,
or
right? So
yep, Oregon
she,
State Snowmobile
yep, she's
Association.
over by Diamond Lake, near Crater Lake. So just north of
Yep,
Crater Lake is Diamond Lake, and there's a Diamond Lake Lodge up there. And herself and a bunch of other folks all work to put together an annual ladies' ride that's happening, I believe, on March 11th. So it's a Saturday, March 11th. And our club was going to go down, and any of the ladies who are part of our ride, we're encouraging them to go and attend the ladies' ride while we're down there. And then their club is also going to be hosting us, and we're going to be staying there for the weekend. Similar, we'll drive down on a Friday, ride Saturday, Sunday, come back home on a Monday. That one's a little closer for us. It cuts off probably 4 or 5 hours at least, if not more. It's
yeah, I
probably
think it takes about 5-6 hours to get to Crater Lake,
yeah,
but Crater Lake Boulevard is where Water World is, where
yeah,
I pick up my sleds, and I believe it's 5 hours, 5.5 hours to
yeah.
there from my house.
Nice.
Sounds like Nina should attend that ride.
Yeah, you guys it would be awesome to have you guys come up and join us, and we're going to be staying at the Diamond Lake Lodge. Again, because that's a March event, we're trying to get your guys' event dialed in first, and then after that, we'll kind of go back and work with Suzanne to make sure we get that event dialed in too. But yeah, planning coming up for the ladies' ride, and then some other club members there have agreed to take us and show us around for any of us who aren't attending the ladies' ride. So.
Yeah, they already got snow there, don't they?
Well, I know we've got snow here. Like they've actually had the last couple of days, we've had on and off the pass closing here, Snoqualmie Pass, and so I think all along the Cascades here in the Sierras, we've all been getting some snow up and down here, and it's
Yeah,
stacking up.
high altitude,
So
high altitude here. Joe Labernick it told me he's coming down. I talked to him today. He's doing a ride for All American Heroes Foundation,
yeah,
trying to get 28 days in 37 days, trying to get 28 days of riding, all different venues. I think
yep,
7 or 8 different venues. He's going to
yep,
try and ride. He's going to spend a week here. He's going to come down like I think 3 or 4 days before you,
yep.
and we may try and get them set up in the house down the street because then they'll have their own personal house and be able to take some guests when you guys get here.
Very good.
And they'll already have a lay of the land. I'll take them out on some rides.
Yeah, keep me posted on that too, because right now he's on my list to include him in our accommodations planning, and if he
Yeah,
gets set up separately, we'll need to make sure we plan for that. So cool.
yeah. He said Little Joe's trying to Little Joe.
Little Big Joe,
I
Joe
love it.
Junior.
Yeah, Joe Junior. He's trying to get some time off work, I hope. But
Yeah.
if that doesn't work out, then he won't be attending. But otherwise, he will.
Yeah, I just heard last night about Joe Labernick's big plan for the season. He's, I think, a 1 month he's going to be out. I think it's like from January 6th to February 6th or something like that. And he's going to hit like 8 destinations, ride to 8 different places, and he's going to be like keeping us
Yeah,
all updated on his YouTube channel and trying to raise money for All American Heroes Foundation along the way. So, sounds like a pretty
yeah, exactly.
ambitious challenge. And he asked me what I thought about it and what advice I had for him. I says like, well, if I'm going to go out riding that many days in a row and go along, the first thing I would do is make sure I have an extra sled along. He goes, "Yep, me and my buddy that are going, we each got an extra sled with, so they're going to have 4 sleds for for two of them." I says,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
smart
totally.
move." And then have a
I
deep,
do that for 7-day rides.
yep,
I
and then
take an extra
yeah,
sled.
and then I told him I have a big bank account ready because the cost of the fuel, the diesel fuel for the truck, and lodging and all that's going to add up quick. And so
And
hopefully he wins the lottery soon so he can come home with extra money in his pocket. So
new skis on the sled when something unfortunate happens,
well.
whatever might happen.
Well, Kyle, not everybody goes out and hits a tree every time they ride like you do. So, I mean, some people, some people try to go around the trees. Actually, I don't know if you know that or
Well,
not.
if you don't stare at it, you'll never hit it.
You got to look at where you want to go. Target fixation, but look at the open spots. Fixate on the open
not
targets,
not the
not the
not the
trees.
pinpoint.
Not the trees. Well, speaking of sleds, Kyle, why don't you talk me through again? We're just here in a BS session. Let's see, what is it? Edith is even here watching. Says, Joe Labernick,
Hi,
are your
Edith.
ears burning? The boys are talking about you. She's talking smack with Joe. So, Kevin
Uh,
Gunlugson, I'm probably saying that wrong.
Gunnarsson.
Yeah,
Gunnar,
he says
Gunnarsson.
enjoyed riding with you guys. Hopefully, get a chance to do it again. So he must have been riding with you guys in the past, or is that with
No,
us?
he rode with us at Sealy Lake.
Oh, that's awesome. That's right. Yep, yep. Very cool. Uh,
Yeah.
okay, cool. So tell me about what you're doing to get ready for sled season. Like, what do you do to prep your sled
Well,
for sled season? And
today
I saw a picture of
today
you
I
like fixing a track or something like that, huh?
yeah today I finalized Nina's track install and fixed some tolerances. The track on the links has roughly my pinkies on each side of it between where the idlers come down off the tunnel for
Okay.
the track. There's like pinky width to these sharp brackets,
Yep.
and it ate one side of it because the track flexes quite a bit. Um, I don't know how they did that, but I put a new track under it, so we got the skid going.
Well,
Matt Whitley
it
helped me
it
with the
does
skid, and then
it does help when your fellow riders don't like T-bone you and throw your track out of alignment. That might have been something to
it
do with it.
it took it took an awful long time before the track started getting eaten. So there's
Uh,
something else, with the flexing. She's getting to be quite a rider. That snowmobile has been really generous to her, and she has a solid mind for riding. Like she sees stuff, and I go, "Yeah, yeah, I'm not going up there," and she's like, "Brrr," up that chute, and I'm like,
yeah.
"Well, that's cool." Then she's stuck in a tree, and I'm like, "Well, you better get yourself out because I ain't coming up there."
Awesome. So Kyle, I just got called out. So our good buddy Todd Swing over in Minnesota, he goes, I remember seeing a video where John kissed a tree recently, and then he's got some little smiley
Uh,
face emojis there, and I can't
oh yeah,
not admit that. I actually invented a move. I don't know how many moves you've invented, but I've invented several now, and so one of which I called re-entry, the re-entry. So
yeah,
it's you go up and do the re-ent part, and then you come down and you hit a tree. So if you hit the tree
yep.
at the if you hit a tree at the end, it's called a re-ent tree. And then I've also done a move where you hit the tree first, and you call it the tree entry. And so
Oh, nice.
I've invented two different moves now. I mean, all those pro riders, Kyle, like they do these fancy reentries and bow ties and stuff. And you and I had a little conversation about that in Sealy
Yeah,
about like T-bones and all,
mine,
other right.
mine's the rear entry. That's when you're going faster than the other person. And then there's the side swipe, which
Oh, the
is what
side
happened
swipe. Yep.
When Nina was riding with me. She came up and I took her out from the side.
The
It's
T-bone
a
and the side swipe. I remember we talked about
yeah,
that when we were
yep,
riding in
yep.
Sealy Lake last year.
And rear entries when you're riding a turbo and the other person goes burt 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 up the hill,
Yeah, yeah.
and I go brah,
Very good, very good.
and then they're in your path.
Very good, very good. So yeah, Ian says he likes all the fancy moves that you and I have been inventing. So it's
Yeah, well,
Ian, let us know if you've ever invented a move, or Todd or anybody else, Brian, if you guys have invented any moves, make sure you drop it in the comments and let us know. So
they may
um,
never hit the freestyle network,
yeah,
but
Brian
they're
Brumwell
fun.
asks, like, have you ever had someone cross your skis? And I'm like, I actually, like, there's, let me tell you one story. Again, this is fun. Just this is like a BS session with no agenda. So we're just shooting the breeze here. But there's a guy named Jimmy Bauer. I don't think you've ever met him, but
Uh,
I'm actually Jimmy Bauer and Clem from Clem's Enumclaw Power Sports. The two of those guys have rented out Grasshopper Lodge in Polaris, Montana for the entire month of February. They literally booked out an entire lodge for the entire month of February, and we have a whole bunch of us locals going from a lot of people who you've ridden with before in Sealy. A bunch of us are going to go the week after Driven to Sealy to this other event. And we're going to ride that first full week in February, but then they have like every week more and more riders coming in, and almost everybody's from Washington at this point, as far as I know. I think there's a few family and friends people coming from the Midwest, but we're going to be there. And I had ridden with Jimmy back of, like, I don't remember where we were at. We were on a ride together. I thought it was over in Chelan. So Chelan, Washington, over by Lake Chelan, and we were on a WASA Winter Rendezvous, the Washington State Snowmobile Association's Winter Rendezvous ride, and we got into a what do they call those when they clear the trees for like forest fire management and stuff? They call it a tree break or something like that, or what do they call that? Like
a fire break.
a fire
Yeah,
break, yeah. But it's like in the
yeah,
middle of the woods, and all of a sudden there's this like perfect swath of trees that are just like down, and I think they call them
yeah.
like fire breaks or whatever. And there was this one fire break that was like up this gnarly nasty climb, and like Jimmy and I, like Jimmy knew the area and I didn't, and so we went over and we looked at it, and I'm like, I'm eyeballing it. Like I pull up to it kind of sideways at first. You know, the break is like going straight up the hill this way, and I pull in sideways at first, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh man, that looks like fun, but it looks challenging, and like I don't know if I can do it or not. And literally, he was like right behind me, and we're looking at it together. And like I couldn't quite just turn into it and go. I had to do a U-turn and come around. And literally, as I'm doing a U-turn, I'm doing like a 180 and a U-turn to go and line up to hit this like epic climb. And that little bugger behind me, he's about the same size as you. He's a little bugger like you. And that dude, he got on his Polaris and he just pinned it. And he hit the first, he probably got like maybe 100 feet. And he hit the first jump and bump, and he got bucked off and got thrown sideways, and he ended up sideways on the hill. And in the meantime, like I'm already coming up right behind him, and so he's stuck going sideways, and I'm like, nope, this line is mine. And I so to answer your question whether I've crossed a ski, like I've literally jumped over a guy's snowmobile before doing this, right? So like I come up and I hit this little same hump that he got kicked off on, and I hit it, and I literally flew right over the rear tunnel of his sled, right? It's like he's in there stuck sideways,
Yeah.
and they're down there like trying to like wrench it out and dig it out, and I jump up right over top of them, and I keep going and go up. And again, it wasn't a spot where there was like any avalanche danger. It wasn't that kind of a zone, but you know, to get up on the hill, and like it was quite a climb because
Yeah.
it was all humped out, bumped out. There was power
Well,
lines
it's
up there and
probably
across.
all the trees crisscross across the
Yeah,
hill.
yep, a lot of
As
that
you get
there.
climbing.
And so yeah, I've crossed skis, I've crossed, you know, I usually don't hit anybody, but like there's times where you know, friends are for traction, trees are for traction, right? And my very first time ever of like friends are for traction was in Cook City, Montana, back in probably like 2000 and I don't know, give or take around 2010. I was in Cook City with a good buddy and his brother, and same kind of thing where like we had this little goat trail we had to go up through the trees, and we radioed down to each other or like whatever, but like we couldn't really tell what was going on. And one guy goes up and he doesn't make it, he gets stuck on the trail, and then somebody else comes up and he gets stuck right behind him because he had to stop. And in the meantime, I think if I remember right, we weren't even riding with radios yet, and that's why I can't think I went. If I had a radio, I probably would have been told don't come up. But I'm like the
Yeah.
third guy in line now coming up, and both of these guys are stuck on literally like a hiking trail, like the equivalent of a hiking trail. And as I'm coming up, I'm like, oh crap! And I'm like, I knew if I stopped, I was gonna get stuck. And so I'm like, I just give her a heck. And so I lean my sled over to the right side. I got it up on one ski, kind of tipping up into the hill. This was before I really even knew how to side hill, honestly. Like I thought I knew how to do it, but like I sucked at it at
Yeah.
that point. So, and I got my sled up, and literally I ran my carbide runner on my left ski right across his side panel on his sled, and my track ran right over the spindle of his sled, and I used it for traction and shot myself up the rest of the trail and up the hill, and I made it to the top. And then I yelled down to the guys, I'm like, hey, how's it going down there?
Yeah, I've put a ski against someone's sled before. I don't know if Brian was one of them.
Well, I think Brian, we rode with Brian in West Yellowstone, right? When we were
Yep.
out there, and I remember him getting stuck at one point. We might have rode over him, maybe not. I don't remember.
You remember putting his spindle back together
Oh,
with the
that's right.
double
Yeah,
handles and the
yeah,
duct tape,
yeah.
and he got to ride back on one ski
Oh,
for
yeah.
most of it. Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Brian says, "Yes, you
Sheared
did."
that spindle right off.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
smoked a
I hit a
rock.
rock right before him,
Yep.
and then he hit a rock just after me. I was like, "Where'd Brian go?" And then I see he's getting up from the other side of his sled, and he's like, "Dude, you see that?" And I'm like, "No." And I'm like, "Dude, you lost your ski." And he's like, "No, I'm fine." And
Nice,
I'm all,
nice.
"No, dude, your ski's under your
I know,
tunnel."
right? Well, he says in the comments here, he goes, "My move is called the rock chuck turn."
Yeah, right. Yep.
Cool. Well, what else you been
Yeah,
doing
we
to
had some
sleds to get them
fun.
ready? So you had to fix the track. You did you get that running board straightened out too? Because didn't you have a little
Yeah, well, I
curvature to the running
straightened the
board?
running board out last year,
Okay.
she'd already eaten the track, and we created more space. But I did some more alignment today
Yep.
with it. I've got equal distance on each side, but the aluminum has kind of come apart because of the track coming into it. It's frayed a little bit. I'm probably going to take a little grinder to it and maybe create a ramp going into it
Okay.
so that when it does shovel, it's not catching a direct sharp edge like this, because those wheels come down and there's a wheel that comes off and goes under the
Yeah.
track, and it's catching that rail that it goes into. They only have it's
Well, I
it's
wonder.
barely
I want.
3/8 of an
Yeah,
inch.
but I wonder if when you hit the side of her sled and you bent her running board, if you maybe pushed the tunnel
Yeah.
ever slightly and got
Oh,
that
it
too
did.
close.
It did. So that bar sits like this. It straightened it out just a little bit, and I put it back
Yeah.
somewhat to where it was, and I straightened the running
Yeah.
board. But it's still, the tolerances on both sides are
Yeah, they're
equal,
tight. Yeah.
and it's tight. It's super tight. But I'm raising the bars back up on my green turbo, my 20.5,
Yep.
and I'm coming back up to about 3.5 inches of rise with the post forward. I've got to redo my grips. My heaters burned through my grips, so I've got to redo that.
So can I give
I'm
you a
just doing
I
typical
just
stuff.
I just did this myself, and so let me give you. Have you already replaced the hand grip heaters or not,
No, not yet. I've
dude?
got I've got a bunch of pairs.
No, dude, this is the trick. This is the bomb right here. So for Skidoo sleds, like if you go and buy like a hand grip heater, and all that, like you're probably going to spend, I don't know, somewhere between 40 and 60 bucks, right? Like that's the probably the least expensive way to go it. But if you haven't ever to replace those before, they are a PIA, pain in the butt, right? They're not easy to do. You wrap them and stuff, and you got to put the thing on, and you got to use the air nozzle, or you got to liquid them.
Yep.
Here's what I've started doing. This is what I like. I've done this twice now in two different sleds because I literally just yesterday replaced the handlebars on my sled. So Skidoo has, I think it was less last year, but I think now this year I think I paid right around $160 roughly for a narrow handlebar. So a lot of the sleds, like my
Yep.
2019, had like the standard handlebars, and some of the new expert models come with the narrow handle grips, where they're like easier and easier
Yep.
to hang on to. So you can buy that accessory handlebar with two brand new hand grips that are already on there and wired, ready to go. And then all you have to do is you replace the entire handlebar for 160 bucks, and it's just literally unbolt the center thing. You slap the new one on there, you take all the controls off, put the new ones on, and then you wire those wires down through your kind of
Yep.
wire holders. And then this is a tip and trick. I should actually have, in hindsight, I should have took a picture of this, but I'll try to describe it. So when you because there's all the wires that come off of your handlebars. There's like the shot start switch. There's the heaters for the thumb grip. There's the heaters for the hand grips. Any electrical wires that go down, they go down the steering column and around to the right side of the sled, kind of by your
Right
knee.
to the
And there's
radiator.
there's three plugs down there. So behind kind of where your oil or your coolant reservoir is, it's kind of right behind that. Nice. What you got, Castle?
Castle X.
Nice, nice. So those plugs are down there, and so these plugs you can actually like at first you're like, man, what do I got to do? Do I have to cut the wires and splice them or whatever? But I've actually learned how to do this. I've gotten pretty good at it. Is you go into that plug, you unplug it, and there's different things. So on the back side of the plug, you can take a little flat blade screwdriver, and on the back side, there's a plastic cap you can pop off and slide it up the wires. And then down inside of that, there's like a silicone, like a formed piece of like rubber slash silicone that you go in there with a real small flat blade screwdriver again, kind of pop it in there and slide that back. And so those are slid up the wires. And then on the other end, on the plug end, there's a plastic white cap in there too that you can go in again with a little flat blade screwdriver and you can pop that out. It just pops into place. And once you pop that off, now you have access to all the plugs that are in there. The wires are kind of floating in there a little bit loose. And here's the trick: is if you look at them, they fit in there a very specific way. Like they're kind of, they have like, there's four. It's like it's a square.
They rotate in that square. And
yeah, that's the thing that most people don't realize is they rotate. So you can actually push the wire. Like if this is the plug, you push the wires through, and then you rotate them 180 degrees the opposite way, and then they pull right back out, right? And I think it took me a while, like a few years, to figure that out. I think I had actually spliced wires, or I'd pulled them hard and like was messing with it and was wrecking stuff, frankly. And I learned that you can just literally push them forward, rotate it 180 degrees, and then they'll slide right out. And then you can reroute all the new wires and slide them right in. And so it ends up being just a totally like a complete factory plug again without any issues. So
I kind of screwed up on my last one. I took a shortcut, and when I changed the heaters, because I put Rasmussen 0 bars, so they're an inch narrower on each side than the expert bars.
Yeah.
And then they don't have any rise. The experts are 1 inch rise, and Rasmussen's bars go straight.
Yep.
And I ran them to a real short riser that I got from Brett, and it was too much for the size of the sled, for my dimensions. I just went a little too low, and I should have stayed with a 3-inch riser in that case. But when I did the bars, I put the heaters on, and instead of accessing all the wires, I clipped the wires on mine, and I soldered them together. But I think I may have crossed a wire. I don't know what exactly I did, but my grips overheated and burned through. I'm like, man, my hand's getting good and hot. And I turned the heaters down, and then my hands are cold. I looked at my grips afterwards, and there were lines in them from the heaters where they burnt through. And I don't know if I damaged them or they're in contact.
Well, yeah, usually what happens is, like, just over, if you use them a lot, they'll just kind of like wear through and eventually go. But I think also, like, when you're like tipping it over and bumping into stuff, sometimes it can break one of the wires, and then it'll short out and quit working. So they just wear out.
They were definitely overheating.
Yeah, because both the 2018 and the 2019 skidoos that Edith and I ride, both of those now, the 2018 a year ago, the heater had to be replaced, and then now this year, the 2019. So it seems like 3, 4, 5,000 miles is about I get out of them, and then you got to, eventually one of them just wears out.
Yeah, but wear parts.
Yeah, but for me, like I like that narrower, like expert handlebar anyway, and so just swapping it out with two brand new hand grips and calling it done was so much easier than trying to swap out the hand grip. It's doable. So
they sell that in a kit.
Yeah, it's like a accessory kit.
One piece. Yep. One piece expert bar.
Yep. So we got some comments here. Let's go read through some comments. We've got All right. So Todd Swing says, I've got to get out there and ride with you guys. Amen. Todd, I know we got to get out there and talk. So Todd, I'm going back
to brother.
Yeah, say Todd, I know last year we talked about the Driven event, and I'm going to go back out there this year. Are you you and Nina going out to the Driven event this year? Or
I'm not sure that we're going to be able to make it with snow removal, and we've got a bunch of other stuff planned.
Yeah.
We're going to try to do a southern Colorado up to Wyoming trip.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a busy winter plan too. So,
yeah.
But I'm going to be out there again for sure for that week. Todd, if you're interested in going, hit me up again. I can give you some more info. And anybody else interested too, there's an event the last weekend in January to the first weekend in February. And Kyle and I and Nina and Edith and everybody, we've all gone now a couple years in a row, and I'm going to continue to go. But it's basically a full 1 week event that's all inclusive. And this year I think the price is $3,100. It's a lot of money, I'm not going to lie, but all the crazy things you get for it is like you get lodging, you get food, you get a level 1 or level 2 avalanche training, you get like companion rescue training, you get like 2 to 3 days of ride skills training, and they're going to do some with Ride Rasmussen. Sounds like they're going to have some additional instructors this year too, and they're going to kind of mix things up a little bit to keep it fresh. But it's an amazing value when you add it all up and what's going on there. Your experience at the Driven event, do you want to share with them a minute?
I absolutely love the driven event. Craig, all the instructors are really top notch. You know, doing the ARI program there was really good. I did an ARI 1 and an ARI 2 at that event, and I kind of worked with the rescue part, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. You remember Cameron?
Yep, camera back. Yep.
No, not
Oh,
back.
oh,
Chimenti,
oh yeah,
Chimenti.
Comenti. Yep,
Yeah. So he's 3C guiding. I
yep.
was thinking about going and seeing Cameron
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
and playing with them for a week.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
So what else we got
Yeah.
here? So Joe Labernick finally showed up, and he says,
Oh, hey
"Hey,
Joe.
hey, John, am I going to be able to beat you on the snow this year? Rumor has it Joe's going out for a ride tomorrow. He's taking the day off and going to go out and ride tomorrow. And I almost
He
went out today, but I just had too much crap to do, and just
he was scouting today. He told me he drove to the top and he said that wasn't a good sign.
he drove all the way to the top. Yeah,
He's gonna
that's the
go
thing. It's like
go
I know
check
I
it
could go up there
out.
and ride, but it would literally be like get on a force road and like banging on rocks all the way up the force road, and I'd be able to ride and say I rode, but it wouldn't be all that much fun. And plus the weather is really crappy right now. The pass has been closed, the roads are icy and everything. So
Well, that's what we're probably going to do on Friday. We've got a
yeah,
bunch of club members that are going to go out here. We're expecting 24 to 36 inches here in Truckee at about 6,500 feet, and then 7,000 to 8,500. They're expecting 32 inches to possibly 4 feet. And then there's wind drift areas,
yep,
but
yep.
we're going to go out Friday. But it's in this area. Even when you do that, the terrain you can ride, but when you start doing things, you hit stuff, and I'm really good at hitting stuff.
I've seen it. I've witnessed it. So
I
Brian
put a
Brum.
hole.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
put a hole in my radiator a couple years ago in my
Yeah.
intercooler on the inside of the tunnel by
No bueno.
hitting stuff. Yeah, stump turned into rocks and
That's no good.
up into the tunnel. Yeah,
Yeah. So Brian Brumwell, I'm kind of a little behind on reading the comments here, but Brian at one point here says, "It's a riot. Just be ready to go, go, go. John doesn't stop. LOL." I think he's talking about riding, riding with us, and yeah,
yeah.
I've kind of got a reputation for being like the Energizer Bunny when I'm,
Yeah, yeah, I was just gonna say that. You're like the Energizer
oh,
Bunny.
dude,
I'm like, dude, let's take a break. And John's like, all right, I'm gonna go over here. You guys want to go? And we'll.
that's no lie. Like to me, like I mean, here's the thing is, and it's, I'm gonna come clean. This is like legit how it is in most cases when I'm out riding with a group of people, I kind of am like mother hen. I'm always like watching people, keeping after people and everything. And then all of a sudden, when someone says they're tired and they want to take a break, that's when I get to go turn it on.
Yeah, right.
Because like I'm over here like Kyle and Nina and Brian and everybody that was with us that day. It's like I'm trying to like make sure everybody's like good and safe and having fun, and like all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, everybody's stuck and tired and whatever, and I'm like, okay, this is my time to go get after it. And so like I literally, you guys were stopping for lunch, and the entire time you guys were on lunch, I think I took Jeff Hamilton or somebody, was it Craig or Jeff or somebody, we took up, I think it was Jeff Hamilton. Him and I went up
Yeah,
on that ridge and we just like shredded that whole thing up there above you guys, in a different
yeah.
area, another zone over,
Well, I
on the
think
other
I
side of the
think
trees.
Brian was with you. I think Brian was with you
Brian
also.
came over for a little while, but he didn't last long either. I wore his butt out too. So
Yeah,
nice,
yeah.
nice. All
Well,
right,
if I
so
didn't get stuck so much, I might have a little more
you'd be less
energy.
tired if you get less stuck less. That happens for
But
sure.
I've been riding hurt the past 2 to 3 years. I've
Yeah.
had, between my knees and my torn hamstring.
Yep.
I
Yep.
I've just it's been tough, and I push through it. But I'm the guy that sits there and watches everybody and everything for
Yeah.
safety, and I'm like, I'm comfortable right here because if I keep pushing, I'm
Yep.
gonna rip it more or
Yeah.
tear something
That's no
else.
fun. That's no fun.
So this
So
year's my year.
So back to the heated hand grips. Ian McNichol goes, a few years back, my son's heaters shorted to the bars, and then wiggled the bars. The headlights would go on and off on this M7 cat. That's like a special little on-off switch for your headlights.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's different stuff happens when you short them out. I think that might be what happened. I'm not sure how, but I'm gonna investigate it when I peel those grips off when I roll them back.
nice.
But yeah, I've got a bunch of extra grips and I got another set of heaters. But I'm trying to keep those bars on because I want to test the narrower, because they're 2 inches narrower than the expert bars,
Okay.
and they're dead plateaus, so
Yeah.
they don't have any riser in them, and they seem to function, but it felt like I was just too tight to the dash
Yeah.
when I rode them. Plus, I played with my skis, and I got to realign my skis tomorrow
Yeah.
too,
You know what I do with my
if I get a
sleds
moment
is
between
is I
snow
just
removal.
I just ride the dang things.
Yeah, well, I've been putting belt drives on them and all kinds of stuff. I've played with all those circuits you were talking about with all the pins and that, and you
Yeah.
just slide them right through, turn them 180, and
Yep.
slide them back out.
Yep. Yep.
Those are pretty handy. There's a lot of cool stuff. I added the extra plug so you can put an extra heater your riser bag.
Okay.
I added a plug on the dash so that you can put in I put in a USB port
Yeah.
and a plug-in power port. So kind of like a cigarette lighter charger type thing.
Gotcha.
I put that stuff in the dash too.
Gotcha.
But
Cool. Well, back to like what we've been doing to get sleds ready. Sounds like you got yours pretty good to go, and I've been working on mine. So we got Edith's sled that pretty much was ready to roll. I didn't have to do too much to hers. Just made sure it was ready to rock. Got it cleaned up, and gas and oil, and made sure everything was adjusted and everything's ready to rock. On my 2019, I had to replace the hand grip, and then on all the sleds, one in the spring. This is something I posted on Facebook on a post, but I'll just talk about it here verbally for a minute. Is the ski tips. So the,
oh
the
yeah,
the ski tips on the Skidoo. So Skidoo skis, if you're running the stock Skidoo skis on a Summit, they have a removable ski tip, and they have a broad, wide ski tip that looks more traditional for most snowmobiles. And then when you remove that ski tip, it just takes like a small little hex head bolt with a 10 millimeter nut on the back of it. It's literally like a 5-minute job per sled.
yeah.
And you can take that ski tip on and off. And a lot of people don't realize what that does and what it doesn't do, and when you should use it or when you shouldn't use it, that kind of thing. And I posted it there too. A lot of people found it interesting, but for me is in the main part of the winter, like typically right as I kick off the beginning of the season, you're riding more lighter, fluffier snow, and through the mid-season, anytime you're off trail and traditionally good snow, I leave the ski tips on, because what that does is it allows you to have the most flotation, and the sled will float better, the skis will float better, and when you're in deep soft snow, that's what you want, is you want that flotation. But like here in Washington, and I'm sure for you down in Tahoe, and I don't know if
Maritime climate.
yeah, you get that really heavy spring snow when you're kind
Yep.
of done for the season riding light, fluffy snow, probably around like, I think it's for me personally, usually like the last half of April, May, and then all the way through like June, July, even if I ride that late. Last year I rode all the way to July 2nd. But that last month or two of the season, I take those ski tips off, and for me, it makes a dramatic difference, because what happens is if you're starting to get into that wet, heavy, slushy snow or just like hard snow, that ski tip on when you're side hilling, it'll have a tendency to grab, and it'll cause your ski to go vertical, and it'll wash you
Yep.
out. And so a lot of people,
Pulls too much and kinks.
yeah, a lot of people talk
Yeah.
about like the ski, they want to put in different ski rubbers, or they, worry about like T-motion lockout because their sled's always washing out on them. What they don't realize is that little ski tip is a simple little tool that you can like remove it, and then it takes from the ski being like catching the snow way up at the tip. Now it catches the snow way down at the
Catches
bottom in
the rail.
the flat area, right? And when it's on the flat area, now it'll just hold that side hill a lot straighter and better, and it's a lot more stable. So,
Well, you think of it like more like a snowboard going from
yeah,
a race deck to a floating powder board. So the powder board might have a big tip like this, whereas the
yeah,
race deck has this.
yep.
And on the harder snow, you want that sharper on the tip. So when you crank it sideways, you're actually riding on the rail of the ski.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah,
Ian
completely.
McNichol
I
makes a good point though. He goes like, "John, I've seen your videos of you riding your turbo. Your skis don't ever touch anyway."
yeah.
Guilty.
There has to be a moment where they touch at some point.
Yeah, it's eventually you got to put them down and steer around the corner when you're on the trail
Well,
or
and in
something.
the
So,
maritime climate, like we're both in the maritime climate where there's heavy moisture in the snow, we get that corn snow that it's like powder, but it's not powder.
yeah,
It's up to 24 inches deep of kind of corn or gush almost, and it'll be hard in the morning, and then about midday, it's like riding powder almost, but
Yeah.
it's really heavy and dense snow.
Yeah.
And that's when that changed. I did the same thing. I took mine off last year, and I think I took them off the year before
Yep.
for the last month of the season, and it worked. It really did work.
Very good, very good. So our buddy Isaac Sample from Minnesota just showed up. He's in the comments now saying hi to everybody. So welcome, welcome Isaac. So do you know, have you ever met Isaac? I don't know if you have you or no?
I don't know if I have.
Yeah. So
I've
Isaac,
met so many people when I'm out there. It
yeah,
is it's such a kick in the ass.
yeah. So a longtime friend of mine, it's Isaac is the son. And so I got to meet Isaac, and Isaac actually 2 3 years, I think it was 3 years ago now, on his own. I think he was probably at the time 16 years old. He flew out. It was actually the first year of COVID, the first winter of COVID. I legit remember this. Like we had booked the trip and planned the trip where he was going to fly out at 16 years old. He's going to come out on his own and come riding with me. And he got permission from his parents to come out and ride. And, literally we planned the trip and then all of a sudden COVID hit and he was coming out at like the end of February or March or something. I think it was February. He was planning on coming out and it was literally like the weeks after like everything just got locked down and we're like, okay, I guess we're going to go riding. But it's like, he had to fly and everything during COVID. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, I got canceled. I was heading to Mexico the week that it happened.
Yeah.
In fact, the day they shut the airlines down was the day Nina and I were
Oh
flying
man.
to Mexico. Yeah, and we ate that trip. They said pandemic's not covered under insurance. I was like, wow, that sucks.
That's so crazy. That's so lame.
Yeah, COVID threw a bunch of
Yeah.
hitches in our giddy up, but
Yep.
I think it increased the stoke for travel
Yeah.
and for us to get out and ride more everywhere. It never restricted our riding. At the end of the season, the first year, the Forest Service was like, "Oh, you guys can't be meeting here," and I'm like, what, out in the forest? Like, you tell me at what point wearing a helmet that I'm within 6 feet of anybody. Like, you could put your arm out and you'd be lucky even at a break to be that close to someone.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
like, this is the safest place we could be. We'll be staying here. Thank you.
Yep. 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 So I
Yeah.
got two things. We're believe it or not, we're already like 46 minutes into this thing, and which is awesome. I'm having fun. You're having fun. We're just
Yeah.
shooting the breeze tonight, which is kind of fun. A change of pace instead of a scheduled show and a scheduled topic. We're just going to be like, hey, let's get on and see what goes on. But there's two topics I want to tackle. I'm going to go first. I'm going to turn it over to you. So events. So here this weekend, so a week from last night, so Saturday the 12th, over Veterans Day weekend, locally here, the Northwest Avalanche Center, our local Avalanche Center, is doing our sled bash party. So it's an annual fundraiser. I think we did 3 years in a row pre-COVID, and then up here in Washington State, similar to California, everything got killed during COVID,
Yeah.
no in-person events and all that.
You
And
guys gonna burn a sled again?
no, that's the open house at Clem's. That's a whole
Oh,
different
okay.
event. But yeah, no, the sled bash party is basically it's a film premiere, and so this year we're gonna actually go back because it kind of launched during COVID, and so I didn't think it got enough love, and I want to give it some love. Is fresh set of tracks. Your buddy Duncan Lee down
Yep.
there in California was
Yep.
in that, and so we're gonna show fresh set of tracks, and that's
Dude,
a
that he did such a good job on that.
yeah
Duncan absolutely. He could be true movie maker, not like a stunt movie type thing,
yeah
but the real documentary, real
yeah
cinematography, it's got everything,
yeah.
and
They did a good job.
that really kicks butt. So
Yeah,
you guys
his
will have a good time with that.
Yeah, so we're gonna do the fresh set of tracks movie, and then we're gonna have it at a brewery, and we're gonna have a food truck there. We've got a massive raffle there with all kinds of amazing sponsors and stuff like that too. I think we got like over almost $6,000 worth of prizes that will be given away. Um, it's at Big Block Brewery in Redmond, Washington, from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. on the 12th. Follow my page. I've got it posted all last week. I'll be posting it all again this week, about every other day or every day with some new stuff. But check it out. If anybody here in Washington lives locally in Washington, please put it on your calendar and come on over to Sled Bash. So November 12th, Saturday night, 5 to 10. One of our local sled heads, a guy named Kyle Engberg, is going to be doing the DJ service too. And so when we're not doing the film, we're going to have him playing music and just kind of keeping the atmosphere hopping and having a good time. So I'm looking forward to it. It should
Is
be
Duncan showing up?
who? Duncan?
Is
Oh, no.
is
Yeah, I don't
Duncan
think
going
so.
to come up?
No, he'll be on the film
Ah,
though. Anybody wants to see him, just come watch the film.
oh yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
But then back to you
Yeah.
is you guys just wrapped up what over Halloween weekend. You guys had a big fundraiser event down in Tahoe area in Reno. Where was it at, in Reno, or
Yeah,
where
we
was it?
did it in Reno
Tell us about that
at
event.
it was at the Eddy, and we craned snowmobiles up. The Eddy is a pizza. It's a bar.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not an all night type bar, but it's a bar, and they have fun atmosphere. They have whatever the clay court thing is, where they chuck balls at the thing, and they play beanbag stuff, and then they have blocks like Jenga, yard Jenga with 2x4 blocks. Anyway, it is the kickoff event, our largest fundraiser for the Lake Tahoe snowmobilers, and we put snowmobiles up on top of it. It's made out of railroad cans
Yeah, yeah.
or Sealand boxes,
Yep.
and we used a crane and put the snowmobiles all over the top of them. And Mark Jacoby lit those up with his lighting stuff. He does the nightlife lighting for bands and different events, and it was a real kickoff.
So do you
I'll
guys
tell
get
you
like
what.
a heck of a deal on that crane, or like how do you line up that crane, man? That seems like
It,
epic, but I
well,
can't imagine how much that would cost.
I'm not sure how Scott Sparrow does it, but in his line of work, his regular
Ah,
job is working for a power company. So they
got it.
use those cranes constantly.
Got
Like
it.
he's always working with the same crane
Got it.
company
Got it.
or multiple crane
It's like
companies.
everything
So
in
I think
life.
he
It's all
got
about
some kind
it's
of
all about
deal.
who you know, right? So
Yeah, well, I think they're about $750 an hour to set up
yeah. Well, it probably only takes
and
an
then
hour or
run the
so to run
crane.
them. So
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty
yeah.
expensive,
So
but
Todd Wold says the crane was donated. The crane service was donated. That's
yeah,
awesome. So that's
yeah.
pretty.
So I think Scott works a deal because they use that crane service a lot.
Very good.
So I think they work out a deal with Bragg's
Yeah.
Crane
So
to
Todd Wold joined us,
to
by the way. So Todd Wold, if you didn't get to, I don't know if you've been here the whole time or not, but the beginning of the show, we covered the Snowmobile Exchange program that we all started, the Snowmobile Club Exchange program, and we covered that in some pretty good detail early on. And so feel free to go back and watch that if you missed the first part of it. But Kyle, I think, I mean, geez, we've been on for 51, almost 52 minutes, so we probably should just shut up and let these people go to bed because
I
daylight savings time went back to standard time last night, and so if everybody's like me, they're probably not even tired yet because what is it? It's
I
8:30.
gotta I'm awake right now. I gotta get up at like 4 and go do snow removal.
Yep, yep.
Get
So,
tractors fired up and all
all
that
right,
stuff.
all
Well, it's
right.
good to see your face, John.
Yeah, let's wrap it up with one piece of advice to your fellow sledheads going into this season. Should they be thinking about?
They should love their life.
Awesome, awesome. Well, of course, they need to live
Think
large.
safety.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I
safe.
definitely think safety. Get your tools and learn how to use them and
Yeah,
practice as much as you can.
schedule
It's
yourself.
it's it's truly important. I've lost a lot of friends,
Yep.
and it is an event that we all want to come back from. Every day riding is the day it could be your last. So
Amen.
treat it like that and respect your
Yeah.
other riders
Yep.
and enjoy it.
Well, I challenge everybody to go out and get some avalanche education. And, if you can't work in an actual in person live event, then, hit me up and I can send you some links to some online trainings that would be eligible for, or that you'd be able to get access to. But really, nothing replaces that online training. It's been great. So, and I'm just going to
I
throw
mean,
this out too. Anybody who's watching is like, I'm always looking for guests, right? And it's one of those things where I've been super busy and I have not been like just every single week I have to do an episode anymore. So I've kind of been just kind of seeing how things roll in. But I'll do a quick shout out and say if anybody out there who's been a longtime fan of the show, been watching or watching this episode, and you hear this and you feel like you have a story to share that others can learn from and we can help move this sport forward in a positive way, hit me up. I'd love to bring you on and we'll share your story. So Kyle, were you going to say one more thing?
I'm heading out to Togety for my very first pro level course,
Nice.
Pro One for motorized, in December. Nina's taking it
Yep.
also, and it's to expand our education. So to take it to a higher level, so that the knowledge base and the skill base is at a level where I can actually profess it to club members,
Yep.
to the riders. I already put on uh, avalanche safety stuff, and I teach people how to use beacons and things like that. But I would really like to just further my education so that I can make it a very solid
Yeah.
point.
So I think we should make a point here full circle, because if I remember right, and I know a guy who knows, is you and Nina were able to take advantage of the Live
Yep.
Large University Scholarship Program, which is exactly what it's
Yep.
for, right? So for the, you guys,
Yep.
most of you all know already, but I'll just give a little shout out for the scholarship program. Is, geez, 3-4 years ago now, I, came up with the idea of like, hey, let's sell some T-shirts and like, raise some money for Avalanche Education Scholarship Program. One thing led to another, and before I knew it, like John Summers from Climb had reached out to me, and he brought me into something that was called the Avalanche Alliance. And so now the last
Yeah.
almost 4 years, 3 years for sure, almost 4 years. This is the fourth season that the sweepstakes is going on. And so right now, again, follow my page, you'll see it. The sweepstakes, we're giving away an F350 diesel truck this year, a Marlon sled deck, head-to-toe gear from both Climb and from Fly Racing. So we got some epic prizes again this year, but those sweepstakes, the reason we do those and the reason we sell shirts and all those things is so that folks like Kyle, like Nina, other people are getting in the Avalanche education world. These scholarships are available through the ARI website. You can actually go to the ARI website, go to scholarships, and sign up for it. And it subsidizes the Avalanche training. And the only prerequisites that we've really put in place for that is to make sure that the people who are benefiting from these scholarships are the people who are going to go back into the community and make a difference. And I know Kyle and Nina well enough to know that they're out there in search and rescue. They're involved in the clubs. They're teaching and training other riders. They're hosting rides. They're doing the snowmobile exchange program. They are living and breathing snowmobile safety and education through the industry. And in a heartbeat, Ari, myself, we all voted to, you guys be one of the many, many beneficiaries. So over like the
I
last two
appreciate it.
years, or actually 2 to 3 years now, we've given away, geez, it's got to be about $200,000 now we've given away in scholarships over the last few years. So it's been pretty amazing. And the only way we're going to replenish that fund, because literally this season is the year that we're tapping out the fund that we raised from a couple of years ago, because we had like 3 seasons worth of scholarship money that was available, about 50 to 70 grand a year. And if we don't sell a lot of sweepstakes tickets for that truck and raise a bunch of money this year, Live Large Scholarship is only going to be able to give away a handful of scholarships instead of the dozens and dozens and dozens that we do every year. So help get the word out, everybody. Go find the sweepstakes, buy some tickets, share it out, get the word out. So
Yeah. Each of these sweepstakes and things that you have your fingers into, I heavily invest in, and it's not so that I can win the prize
but
necessarily.
sometimes you do.
It's because I believe. Well, maybe I'm lucky, but it's to support the cause.
Yeah.
I believe that more people need to be at a higher level in education. So the more benefit that I can put out there to get more people involved in the safety aspect of the sport, the more people that'll come back.
Yep. Yep.
It's a worthy investment. Even if you don't win anything, you're donating to a great cause, and it's totally valid.
Yep. Nope. That's awesome. So,
That that's part of the reason I
yep.
support All American Heroes
Yeah.
too, is getting those veterans some help. Snowmobiling could be the difference between a veteran suicide and a guy who has a good time.
Nope.
And they learn something in the program to come back and bring others back safely.
Yeah.
And they're good training.
Nope, agreed 100%. So Ian's asking, where's the link to the sweepstakes? So Ian, I will go back in and share it into this post so that it's in the comment or in the show notes here. But it's also all over my Facebook page. If you haven't seen it, then there's, if you haven't been seeing my page for a while, it's there literally like multiple times per week. So Edith just dropped it into the chat now. So anybody who wants this, the TapCat website link, she just dropped it in the chat now. You guys can click in there, go in and buy some tickets for the sweepstakes, raise some money for an amazing cause, and help reinvest back into the snowmobile community for folks like Mr. Kyle P Frankland here to go out and do the work he's doing and spreading the love and the education throughout the industry. So folks like myself, Kyle,
Yeah,
we're passionate about
it
this stuff.
doesn't
So
it doesn't make the classes free,
no,
but it definitely subsidizes it. You get
yeah,
50%. is something to the effect of it. But
Yeah, it's
it's
approximately
super
50%
super
is what
good.
the scholarships are approximately 50% of the value of the classes. And we always, collectively, the strategy for myself and Erie, we're aligned on this, is we want to make sure that people who are doing this are going to take this seriously and that they're skin in the game, right? And so sometimes
Yeah,
offering something for free, people don't always see the value, but by offering, half the cost and having the student be willing to fund the other half the cost, it really allows us to make sure that we have students in there who are taking this seriously and are really going to go out and make a difference. So.
yeah.
Very good. Kyle,
Well,
let's wrap this show up, buddy.
it's about time I invest again. Well, wrap it up, John.
All right, buddy.
Thanks,
God
everybody.
God bless you. Love your life. Live large. Have an amazing night, everybody.